Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry channel, and with me tonight are two of my favorite minions, Serenity Star 13.
Hello.
And SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, man, it's been another brutal week for me.
So how many build hours this week?
50. Well, no, wait. I forgot about today's hours are actually part of the week. Holy crap. 56?
56. That's good stuff. And you're billing out at like $5 an hour, right?
Yeah, that's $5.50 with inflation.
$5.50 with yeah, exactly. And Gavin only takes about a third of that.
Yeah. Hey, and look, Sora's here.
It's a Sora. Hello.
Sora.
Back from your world travels.
How long has it been since we talked? I haven't talked with Sora in a long time.
A few months.
Yeah.
I think at this point.
Yeah. Sora's going not long enough, really.
So how are things in the great Pacific Northwest, Sora?
We have summer.
Did you feel the 6.0 earthquake off the coast? Was that strong enough for you to notice it?
Nope. I didn't know we had an earthquake. Cool.
It was actually not that far from you, considering it was a 6.
No, I have slept through, been in class during, and just generally not noticed a couple of big earthquakes that hit us here before. So
wow,
yeah,
nothing
maybe that big, but you know, enough to shake buildings.
A 6 is enough to get your attention.
6 will get your attention.
That's what she said?
That's nature's way of saying, you know, not this time, but it could.
That could kill you.
Yeah.
I was in the Seattle area for the big quake that they had up there in, what was it, 2001 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That was a 7.2, and I was 13 miles from the epicenter.
Nice.
And you know, we were in a building that Avaya and Lucent had built to withstand. They built it especially for this project, and they built it to withstand earthquakes. And it still rocked and rolled. I mean, our stuff was going all over the place in the lab. Tower servers falling over, that sort of thing.
Let's see if I can find this stupid earthquake. 7 days. Huh. Okay. Oh, I'm looking in the wrong place because this really only looks at the United States. Oh, well. It's like you don't count. Okay, anyway.
Okay.
Let's make Canada the 51st state.
We have enough problems. We don't need theirs.
Hi, Keever Dam from Harry's chat. See, there's somebody on my channel. It's Keever Dam.
Hello, Keeve.
Let's see. We've got Keever Dam, Sora, Serenity. Hi. We can count you twice as panel and guest. Why not? Green Badger. Let's see. Rotten Corpse, Toss. Excellent. 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 Excellent.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Lisa.
So let's see. So, oh yeah. Hi, Lisa. Let's see. So, Skep, how have you been?
Oh, fair
guitaring.
Yeah, I had some health problems this week, dental problems, just a freaking nightmare, and that's one of those types of problems that just governs your week, you know, in retirement. But kids still have to get delivered to school on time, and other chores have to get done, and kids have to get fed and all that stuff. So fuck your teeth. Just get on down the road. It's been that way. The good news is we have had wonderful weather for growing crops. It's just been this perfect jungle-like humidity down here. And the tomatoes, you can almost see them grow. They're growing so rapidly and getting beautiful fruit on them. Oh my God. It's going to be, it's really a promising start. It could be a good year this year.
Yeah, I'm going to get some apricots. My tree's really small, and it's kind of a bit early for it to be producing fruit, but I figure this will at least give me a dozen apricots that I can sample to kind of get an idea of whether this tree's worth keeping or just giving it the Charlie Brown Christmas tree treatment, chopping that thing down.
Don't
Yeah.
forget
Aw.
that. You know.
Only the pits, which you don't eat.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I'm saying you can refine cyanide from them. You really can leach out.
Minions of the Zoo does not endorse refining cyanide
And
or
it's very
ricin or anything else.
tasty.
Yeah.
I like splitting apricot pits and eating the smushy center. It's
Yeah, 'cause
delicious.
I do that
Almondy.
too, Sora. I do exactly that.
I like eating the apple pits too for the same reason.
Same
I
reason.
like
Wow.
the bitter.
That
Hardcore.
tasty bitter. Yep. And by the way, if you eat 12 ounces of if you eat 12 ounces of apple seeds, that will kill a horse. That is what they tell you. And you can feed a horse enough apples to kill it from the cyanide that's in that, and it just eventually just hits a threshold, and the cyanide spills over into the pulmonary function, and the horse stops breathing.
If you ever get hungry and you're in the
Poor horse.
polar north and you kill a polar bear and you start eating it, do not eat the liver.
Yep,
Do
no
not eat
liver.
the liver.
Absolutely toxic levels of vitamin A. And your body will not cope.
No, it will actually sludge up and stop. Is the way that works.
So how's the weather in West Virginia, Serenity?
It was good till today, and then it was thunderstormy, and now the humidity's like 90%.
Ew.
But up to this point, it was good.
That's good. It was like 85 here in Central California today, and I'm not used to 85. It's just like, oh, I hate
You
this.
think
And
that's
that
hot?
was yeah, that was basically the temperature here.
It's funny,
I'm
I think
expecting
that's
we're going to
cool.
get to 100 degrees probably in the summer, like we
Yeah.
always do.
Well, I'm just acclimated. You get
Oh, yeah.
acclimated to a particular temperature. When the first time
Already
it gets
hot.
cold,
Yeah.
you don't cope with it. I used to, when my dad would take us all up to the gold country, he was working for the operating engineers, so he got like a bunch of vacation. So he'd take a month, go up to the gold country, and he would go prospecting, and we would just do things that kids would do. He did get very angry at me once because I took a heavy electronics textbook with me up the side of a mountain. And it's like, what are you doing carrying that up here? I'm reading it. I don't want to get
caring of
bored.
you.
But anyway, we would go do this thing, and it was 100-something degrees every day. And so you would get super hot, and then you would get in the water and cool off, and you would just rinse, lather, and repeat all day because it was just ridiculous. And then you'd come back home, and it would be a hot day, and you'd be shivering because you just get used a month of that 100+ degree heat. You would just get used to it.
Get acclimated to it.
Oh,
And the human body is very adaptable. And this first day where it just suddenly went from low 70s to 85, I'm like, crap, this is unpleasant.
Oh yeah. No,
I was going to ask Serenity, how hot does it get where you are?
Oh God, we've gotten up to 110 and 114 degrees
really?
before the
Okay.
summertime. Yeah,
I didn't-
like my state has the full gambit of temperatures because in the wintertime this year we got down to, this is with wind chill, down to -21, and the summer before we got up to 114. So we literally,
Damn.
and we're considered subtropical, I think, or something like that, or coniferous tropical. It's something weird, like the coniferous rainforest, because we're just so freaking humid.
Do you know your growing zone?
Yeah, it's 6B.
6B. Pff.
Yeah.
Hello from 10B.
Yeah. And for anybody who's like, that's going to docks. No, it's not. That's like most of my state is 6B.
Yeah.
So, I'm not even that worried. Besides, if you want to come to the state that has Castle Doctrine, stand your ground laws and everything else and try anything, you're more than welcome to.
No,
You'll
exactly.
be happy to know that the honors for the largest difference in the United States goes to Yukon, Alaska. The Fort Yukon, Alaska, with an all-time high of 100 and a low of -78.
Yeah, that's
That's pretty spectacular.
I love watching the what's the crab fisher thing on Discovery. I love watching that because
yes, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's
it's funny. It's amazing to watch.
you really get a feel for how cold that water is up there.
Oh, yeah.
North Pacific is cold.
It is. But fish like it because it's full of nutrients and salmon is delicious. But anyway.
Wait, Harry, talk
Russian
about the
trawlers.
fish you hate.
No, I like salmon. Salmon are delicious. Fish that taste good are fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So we should probably talk about the border, but we don't want to spend 2 hours talking about the border. Two things. So first of all, here's like a little thing from Governor Hochul talking about blocking Mayor Adams from busing migrants to the suburbs.
Welcome back. Title 42 expires in less than 17 hours. It is ready to cause a nightmare for the already overwhelmed border towns. New York City has been receiving busfuls of migrants now for months, and now it's trying to ship them off to other New York counties outside of New York City. Rockland County granted a temporary restraining order to block a hotel from accepting those migrants. Governor Kathy Hochul says her administration is going to look into the, quote, constitutionality of trying to block New York City from sending migrants out. Joining me right now is New York Congressman Mike Lawler. He represents Rockland County.
No, we don't care about Mike Lawler.
Wait, she's trying to stop them from being taken out of New York City, or she's trying to stop them from coming to New York City?
You know, that's a defying question, because that was what I was thinking Berta was saying. I think mostly she's going to send her best people out to figure out what the voters want her to do. I suspect that she's holding both opinions simultaneously.
Like a pathetic, wishy-washy politician. Lovely. Great.
Yeah, she's at a state of, Schrodinger's position. She hasn't decided yet.
Schrodinger's dumb bitch. Oh,
she wants to know what's going to keep her from getting voted out of office, because she desperately wants to hold on to the little bit of power she's managed to accumulate. So
she is one of the least elected governors of New York in history, but that's she just.
Well, we'll find out if she holds on to that or not.
And exactly. So, what I'm curious about. So, this is a piece of information. We all know how this is going to play out horribly, no matter what. What I'm curious about is, what have people actually seen, or what do you know about firsthand about this stuff? Has this affected you in Texas yet, Skep? Or do you know people who've seen this mess, like in El Paso, firsthand? What do we actually know without trusting the news?
Oh my God, yes. Well, first of all, you know that my dad is down in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And, that's just down the highway from Uvalde, which is, and then you've got the border towns on the other side of that. So that's not terribly far away from that. And there's a lot of good information that comes through the rest home down there. That's, because it's like a gossip festival every day. It's a bunch of old veterans living in the same dormitory, basically. And that they talk about the, news from the border and so forth. And the biggest news is how overwhelmed the small towns like Del Rio particularly have been. Del Rio's got a population of like 30,000 normally, and they've got 150,000 migrants who have flooded that town and are headed into the environs of Texas. They're drifting all the way. They have come through Midlothian. Midlothian Police Department is hiring extra people just to keep up with the transients who are moving through and just casually burglarizing and just taking whatever they need from wherever they happen to be passing through. They don't even care if they get arrested. They're just here and they're moving on. It's a very strange time in Texas. People are afraid, and people are very positive about the idea of busing a lot of these out and letting some of these people who are so free and easy about opening up the border share in the bounty that they have inflicted on our country. Yeah, I'm all about that. I think that's an excellent idea.
Well, if you declare it a sanctuary city, it's.
Come on down.
As far as I'm
concerned, we should fly every single one of these guys to Chicago and New York. I couldn't do it to California. California's just in too terrible a shape right now.
But that's still
we've already got most of the homeless people from the rest of your states who've come here.
You're not wrong.
And we're taking care of them for you.
That's not wrong at all. Yeah.
So we're already doing enough.
You've had your injection.
Pain.
It's funny.
Prospero's here. Hey, Prospero.
Hello, Prospero.
Hey.
But
I can tell you. Sorry, go ahead. I keep interrupting, Serenity. You go. I'll shut up.
You're good.
Sorry.
No, it's just like if you look at the map of lists of sanctuary cities in the United States, there when you get to the East Coast, there's a little black hole, and it's my state. Because we're surrounded by states with cities that are sanctuary cities, and my state's like, nah, fuck you.
So Serenity, it's, we've all had these sort of conversations where people say things that they don't really mean. Like they say, hey, if you're ever in town, just look us up and, we'll put you up, right? People say stuff like that all the time, hoping or expecting that they will never be called on it. And now we have the Sanctuary City thing, and suddenly what seemed like a totally safe virtue signaling sort of thing to do might actually have real implications.
Yep. It's one of those things where it's kind of like, I can understand declaring yourself a sanctuary city for people like the earthquakes that happened in Turkey, and going, well, we declare ourselves a sanctuary for these people if they're running from genocide or something like that. But people who are just crossing the border because they've come up from other countries, like there's a bunch of Chinese crossing the border to the south, like a bunch of Chinese. There's Haitians, there's Nicaraguans, there's people who were not from like Mexico and like that direct area. And it's just kind of like, I mean, your countries aren't perfect, but they're not that bad. Like, did you ever think if maybe you stayed and did something, things might change? No, never mind. But
yeah, I mean, what's racist? You basically saying that simply because you're born in Guatemala, that means you're a refugee automatically? That every country in the United States that isn't basically France and the U.S. isn't fit for people to live in? That to me seems pretty racist.
Well, it's just, and that's the thing that always makes it funny whenever they call America racist. If we're so racist, why are all these other races coming here?
Yeah.
Did you ever?
You make an excellent point.
What's the question that I've posed at people whenever they try to do that? I was like, did you ever think you're just an asshole and people don't like you? That's gotten,
I ask myself that question all the time.
It's like, maybe they're not racist. Maybe it's just because you happen to be black and you're just a raging asshole. Maybe that's it. It has nothing to do with anybody else.
Yeah. We're just going to put up a bunch of signs in Texas that just point toward the Canadian border. We're going to send them all to Functional's house. It'll be fun.
Well, I mean, that's what a lot of them are doing. Especially
just keep it on the East Coast. It's fine.
Yeah,
there you go.
Well, I think that's the central part, isn't it? He's not a newfie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't drink Newfoundland Screech. Live in Sunnydale Trailer Park.
The newfies.
Yeah.
Maritimes is important.
Yeah.
They hardly count.
Newfies are on their own.
They're just a buffer to keep the Atlantic from lapping up against the shores of Toronto.
They're just a shore guard.
Well, let's see. We should probably keep moving forward. Why not talk about this briefly? YouTuber accused of deliberately crashing plane for views pleads guilty.
Yeah, that guy's a fuckwit.
Have you heard about this? Because I literally just got this from Geodes an hour ago.
I watched this. I've been watching this for a long time.
I watched the video of him jumping out of the plane.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay, so tell me what happened, because I honestly don't know.
So it's a pretty basic. He flew the plane, was recording it, acted like he had engine issues, and then jumped out. Well, he tried to play it off. That's what he was doing. That's what happened. But apparently he also tampered with the crime scene because he actually went back to the plane and tried to cut it up. But like, if you watch the video's insane of him just jumping out of that thing. And that's essentially what it is. He lied to federal investigators. That's the word. He lied to them. They caught him. Yeah. Moron's going to be in jail for 20 years.
He was interviewed by the NTSB. And
that's
actually who he lied to.
Do these small planes, like these little Cessna jobbies, because this looks kind of like a Cessna.
I don't think that's a Cessna. I think
do they have boxes of color that you can query?
It's like a Piper or something. It's not. I don't.
Yeah,
think
that's not a Cessna.
It's some very basic airplane.
Wing is wrong. Yeah, it's Mark 1 Mod 0 airplane, generic one each.
Yeah.
And this guy, likes to live on the edge and all that stuff. And he got this whole plane and he realized, hey, I can jump out of this thing. I'll be safe. The plane will catch. I'll have this great story. I'll be miles ahead in the social media space. And it backfired on him when, the TSB is really good at investigating these things. And they realized, he crashed a perfectly good airplane.
So
Well,
insurance fraud, probably, in addition to everything else.
Probably that too.
I'm just glad he didn't set anything on fire because he could have set that entire like
That's
dry.
They
brush
don't
land
have
that-
fires in California though. That's the thing, or in the up in that region. That's never been a problem for them.
I know
Yeah.
it's still always the worry though because California.
They could have their first forest fire in California. That's true.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
First one ever.
It says I read
time.
18 articles in the last year. It's like, this is how sad my life is. I've actually looked at The Guardian 18 times.
That
Yeah,
does make me
sometimes it
sad.
is.
That's more than once a month, Harry.
Yeah,
What's wrong?
yeah. That's really not good.
Are you? Does it hurt?
Am I okay? Well, speaking of things like this, let's just talk about my nemesis. I was completely unaware of the fact that Elizabeth Holmes of
Oh, she's already got a movie.
that there's a movie already about her, and she was played by Amanda Seyfried. So
He
Elizabeth
did really well
is
as her too.
is a lot of things, including a mother and tech entrepreneur, but she's mostly known for her fraud conviction. Yeah, she's been doing this weird sort of charm initiative lately to try to rehabilitate her image.
That's all she's got.
She did an interview, I think, with the New York Times just yesterday or today,
Yeah.
where she's trying to rebrand herself as sort of this caring mother. I think
Right.
she thinks that's going to help her stay out of prison.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's
It,
really-
Yeah.
it might. It might. That might be a good
Look.
strategy.
Well, from what I've seen on the internet, most people aren't buying it, but Amanda Seyfried actually played her really well. Like it's
She's a
scary.
good casting choice.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
actually, I have the trailer. We could take a look at it, and then
It's
everybody
scary.
would know what you're looking at. We don't have to watch the whole thing, but just get a sample of what she's like as her.
The world works in certain ways until a new great idea
She's got
comes
crazy
along and
eyes.
changes everything.
Crazy eyes.
She's an amazing actress.
What if you could test your blood in your own home? And what if it wasn't a whole vial, but just a drop?
Yeah. And what if everybody got a pony?
Stanford, this machine is going to change the world.
These kids don't overthink. They don't get bogged down about the way things have always been done. They want to change things now.
Okay. I think we got the gist of it.
I like how it has like that D horror movie soundtrack.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, it's also got that weird like
Oh, yeah. Stephen Fry's in it. I don't know how
Yeah.
I feel about this because I want better things for Stephen Fry. Than,
Yeah,
but
No,
I guess.
the Dropout's really good. Like legitimately, it's a very good.
Okay.
They don't try to make her sympathetic. Like they okay, how do I explain it? You feel bad for her, but it's not because they make her sympathetic, and it's not feel bad for her in a way that you actually like pity her. It's this thing of like, wow, you had with that ability to kind of do the things you did, if you'd actually just used it for good, you would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But you didn't. And it's
And you-
just like,
What a waste
Yeah.
of potential.
yeah, it's such a waste of potential. Yeah.
So Sora, if she had been born a man, do you think she would have been driven to these extremes to succeed, or would the world just have handed her billions of dollars because of her genitals?
Whipped them boys out.
Mm,
I mean, that's how
don't
white
know.
privilege works, or male
Depends.
privilege, right? Because really, it's only because she's
Would
a
she have
woman in tech that she
identified-
was forced to be this way, right?
Oh yeah.
The only way for a
Yeah.
woman in tech to get ahead is to commit fraud. I guess that's the lesson these people are trying to say, which is nonsense.
If it
Yeah.
was a fair world, she wouldn't have to go the fraud route. She
Yeah,
would be
exactly.
given her $1 billion participation trophy like she expected.
Yeah, my
Like
point
Kamala
exactly.
was.
Exactly.
It's like her idea is actually not a bad idea either. Like it would be nice to be able to do kind of blood tests at home. And if she'd actually found people who were willing to kind of do the things that she was trying to do, it probably could have worked in a few years. It just wouldn't have worked as fast.
It's not really an idea. Okay, I'm just going to take issue with your words ever so slightly. It's not really an idea so much as a goal.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't really have an idea. She had a goal, and then she was sort of making up all the details to get to the goal. Like, wouldn't it be swell if Harry had a jetpack? Okay, and then you know, I could go off and research jet motors and fuel tanks and all this sort of stuff. But the difference between wanting a jetpack and being able to make a jetpack is fairly huge. And what she's trying to do is way harder than a jetpack, because you actually need a certain volume of blood to do the processes that she wanted to do.
Yeah.
So the idea that it's not that we can't do what she's talking about doing. She was probably like 30 years ahead of her time. You literally need a bunch of nano machines on a chip to be able to pull this off. And it just, the technology just wasn't there.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of the thing too, also, is sometimes as a creator or a business person, you have to realize I'm a little too ahead of my time. Maybe I need to go do something else.
Oh, yeah. That's actually super important when you're trying to build a business. It's easy to be too soon.
Yeah. And I think that was, I think her pride just wouldn't let her, because she was getting too much praise and she just couldn't.
She's not getting praise from Spud Gun.
Oh yeah, no, Spud Gun was asking if they were trying to make her look like a victim, and I was like, no, they don't try to make her look like a victim at all.
Well, hi, Kefki.
But it's one of those. It's like, that's kind of, it's the old saying that the greatest ability is knowing when to walk away.
That's one of them. Other than just being outrageously lucky and having really good connections.
And sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes it's just pure effing luck.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen good ideas fail and bad ideas succeed based on nothing but good and bad luck.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, not in the IT business. That's science, Harry.
Yeah, it's science, but not really about me.
You know,
so,
if I didn't know you all
see.
so well, I would not understand your sarcasm.
You would think it was, you would think you were being serious.
Yep. Thankfully, I know your sarcasm.
Speaking about things that are serious,
especially Skep. Skep has a very dry sarcasm.
California facing $22.5 billion budget deficit going into 2023. So this was 4 months ago that they were talking about
After years of surplus money, California is facing a budget deficit. Governor Gavin Newsom unveiled his budget today.
ABC 10's Morgan Reiner covers all things politics and explains what this deficit means.
Last year, California...
Yeah, it means we don't have any freaking extra money to pay $800 billion worth of reparations. But buried in this thing, Gavin Newsom actually said something which is interesting. Let me just go forward here.
Crossed to the news Tuesday, a $22.5 billion deficit. Why? California is a state that relies on high earners, and capital gains taxes were lower.
It's an EKG. And that sums up California's tax structure. It sums up the boom bust.
But Newsom said he will...
Yeah, basically, because the market wasn't good last year, people didn't make a bunch of capital gains, so they didn't pay a lot of income taxes. So if you knew, for instance, that your state was primarily dependent for revenue on high earners, you would think you would want to do everything in your power to not just keep the ones you have, but attract more of them. But there are people in government who aren't even as sane as Gavin Newsom who want to do crazy things to make all of them leave the state. Crime, high taxes, they want to talk about having wealth taxes, every crazy thing that would basically... So you're going to try to extract more money from a group of people who are most capable of just saying, screw you, I'm going home, and just leaving. Because nobody is more mobile than somebody with a whole bunch of money, typically speaking. Well, they can they have the resources to just pick up and go somewhere else. They don't have to stay here. So if this is where California gets its tax money, the way the less responsible people in government have been talking is completely mind-boggling to me.
Well, it's a weird kind of thing of the whole, like, they had a bunch of businesses leave, they had a bunch of people leave. You have a bunch of coping going on with a lot of smaller states, like smaller, like legislative people in the state. Because like on Instagram, I saw this one dude, I don't even know who the heck he is. I assume he's a governmental person, trying to sit there and say, well, why everyone is saying that people are leaving California. Santa Clara has had people move, has had more people show up. It's like, no, it's just people moving out of San Jose and moving into Santa Clara County, you moron. Like,
well, San Jose is in Santa Clara County, but
that's what I mean. But that was his thing. Like, it was the people moving into the countryside, like the non-populated, as populated part of Santa Clara County, not moving to San Jose. And it's like,
oh yeah,
dude, like, stop. Like, maybe instead of trying to cope, you actually try to fix the things in your state.
A lot of people
Maybe-
are getting the hell out of the cities, and where you're actually seeing this in very real terms is in terms of schools. So public schools for kids, little kids, have these declining enrollments year after year after year as their families say, I don't think so, and then they move anywhere else that isn't a big city. So you're seeing a lot of growth in terms of school enrollments in the smaller towns and a lot of it dropping off. And that's just one statistic, gives you a pretty good idea of what's going on. But you'd think this would be particularly bad, $22.5 billion, but wait, there's more.
For joining us, I'm Lisa Gonzalez. California facing that big budget shortfall. Governor Newsom rolled out his plan to fill the $31.5 billion gap today. That's about $10 billion more than what was predicted in January from his administration.
It's actually 31.5 billion. Oops. I don't think reparations are going to happen anytime soon.
Well, what's like when I'm thinking back about all the stuff we've read about California, like this is on top of like everything they've done, like this is mostly partially probably because of the smaller business people also moving out, because wasn't there like a $10,000 extra fee on top of California for small businesses or a lot of business owners in California because of the fact that they hadn't paid back federal loans in 15 years and they still didn't have the money to pay back federal loans, so they were taxing other people.
I would have to see a reference to that. I don't know the details of that.
But it's just like
I should probably check my mail.
Probably. But it's just it's just funny to me because every single time anybody, and I'm not talking about you, Harry, you love California, but you also admit to the fact that there's something wrong with it. But there's people out there who love California who are like, we have a larger GDP than some countries. It's like, so does my home state, guys. It's not that big of a deal. Like whoop-de frickin' do.
So Serenity, I mean, honestly, one of the things, I mean, as I was looking for things for the show, one of the big mayors when I was a kid in San Francisco, super famous guy, Alioto. He was one of the most famous mayors in San Francisco history, back when San Francisco was an amazing place.
I voted for him.
His daughter was president of the board of supervisors for like 10 years. Okay. And she was just recently on the California Insider channel talking about how screwed up the city of San Francisco is. Mm-hmm. All of these people that would have been considered super liberal just, 5-10 years ago are busy going, I don't even know what I'm looking at. Mm-hmm. You've got the daughter of Mayor Alioto, former 10-year head of the board of the supervisors for the city, talking about how messed up things are. It's not that everybody in California's lost their mind. It's the crazy people have somehow taken over some of these places, and I think that more rational people are going to speak up more and more and more. But I mean, maybe I'm just being too optimistic, which is uncharacteristic for me.
Well, the thing is like the pendulum always swings, and it's always going to swing back the other way. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Oh, it is. I have something about that coming up in the show later.
And that's kind of the thing of like the best way, and I try to get people to understand this by using my own state as a reference. My state before 2008 was hard blue, hard Democrat. Then we got screwed over by a certain president, and my state went purple, and then went hard red. The pendulum swing you can only get. I'm gonna. You can only get effed so many times before you finally go, you know what? I'm gonna leave.
Okay, I'm gonna reorder the show based on what you just said, and we can take a look at this. Most hippie town in Washington State, outlaws drugs after ODs in street, fentanyl death of 5-year-old. So Bellingham, Washington, a town that once prided itself as the most hippie in Washington, has taken drastic action to outlaw drugs after statewide decriminalization led to spiking crime and child overdose deaths. The proudly liberal city of 92,000 has been pushed to its limit, with the fire department responding to 223 overdoses between January and April 12th. Among the dead are 2 teenagers and a 5-year-old.
And the thing, the 5-year, like the teenagers could have been just stupid teenagers. The 5-year-old didn't know what it was doing.
The point is that it's out of control. You know, a man was sitting in a curb parking lot with his head bowed right out in the open, and a police officer told me that he'd been dead for at least 12 hours. So even this is how bad it has to get before a place like Bellingham just says enough.
Yeah.
Enough. And people are finally starting to just say enough.
Well, I mean, it's the sad part of it, and the thing is, both political parties are shit. Let's be completely clear.
Yeah.
There's good ones in each one. There's bad ones in each one. You have to figure out the one in whatever party they belong to works for your state. In my case, it's Republican because so far they haven't fucked us. Give them time, they will, and then we'll swing back the other way. But there's a lot of this stuff of like, there's too much of voting down party lines, and that's the thing that pisses me off the most because I have friends who do it. I'm like, don't vote. Like, actually look at what the person is saying. Look at what they're doing. And it's I wish that most states did what mine did, which is if you're a registered independent, you can vote in both primaries. You can vote in the Republican, you can vote in the Democrat, you can vote in another primary if there's another primary. Because I live by the belief of, I'm going to pick one of the two on this side one of the ones on this side that I like is good. I'm going to pick one on this side that I think is good. Now fight and let's see who wins. Because I want to see what you both say against each other. Yeah. I think that's a better system, but so many people, there's so much of a stigma tied to certain political parties that they're unwilling to be open-minded, and it goes for both sides. But it's
they're both terrible, but if they're competing for your vote, you just have to look at what's in your best interest on any given day. Because it's almost too much to hope for that they'll pull their head out of their ass. So how are things in your neck of the woods, Sora? You live in Utopia, don't you?
Canadian. Oh yeah. There was a puppy recently that somehow, you know how dogs sniff in bushes and stuff, ate a piece of poop and got it was methamphetamines was traces of methamphetamines was found in him because of the poop he ate. Because the puppy was okay, but like after some serious illness, and of course, everyone's like, well, obviously it's the dog owner's fault, and there's no other fault that we see in this picture. Like, what are you doing with your dog? Yeah, I'm waiting for this. This is the next thing, but no, it's actually very depressing. There's free drugs.
Well, what's the commercial real estate market look like in downtown Vancouver? Are you starting to see like the downtown areas, the high rent areas starting to thin out a little bit in terms of residency, or everything's generally okay for the time being?
So, I mean, we have sectors, right? Chinatown is what would be part of Chinatown, and what's called Gastown is the most affected, and that's just, it's trash, it's garbage. It's nothing but, and then as you're going into sort of the downtown east side area, that whole area is just people on the street shooting up in broad daylight. There is a Twitter handle I follow. I can't remember. It's Vancouver something. Basically, it's an individual who lives somewhere in the downtown Yaletown region, where there's a safe injection site that opened up where they live, and every day they're tagging local government, news organizations, and all this sort of stuff, and basically sharing photos that they find that they take of the neighbors every day, of the fact that they have to call themselves and the ex. I don't know. Man, woman, I don't know who the person is, to keep their identity secret, but call the police, call everything, because it's constantly noisy. There's people shouting, there's mess, there's needles everywhere.
Reporting crime is racism, though, so you shouldn't do that.
Did you hear that from us?
I've heard that from a number of places.
Because there was this update to the VPD cuffing rules. So it was something like, before you handcuff someone, you consider you have to consider the situation, including skin color, before cuffing them in in any situation. So now the officer who may be maybe getting beaten up or whatever, instead of just cuffing the assailant or whatever, they now have to think, well, how dark is their skin? Because if it's too dark, I cannot cuff them.
Well, would it be better if they had handcuffs that were closer to the perpetrator's skin color so they didn't clash so much, or is it some other thing that I'm... Yeah, like Band-Aids. Is it that sort of thing, or is it some other factor? He says, pretending not to know the answer.
Well, see, I'm gonna assume it's another factor, because nowadays, you can get zip ties in every color. So,
oh, okay.
Obviously,
Obviously. So, what were you gonna say, Skep? Sorry.
Oh, something along the same line.
You were gonna raise the level of conversation just like I just did.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's no easy way to get from where we are to where we need to be. Let's see. Why not? OnlyFans now has more than 3 million content creators and is a global business, says CEO.
She looks happy if that's her.
Yeah, all of these people working from home, being their own boss, masters of their own destiny. Okay, here's my thing. First of all, I don't care. Okay, yeah. I mean, I genuinely don't care. Compared to having to work for somebody who's pandering people out, seems like a step up. Again, still don't care. What does seem weird to me is, of these people, only a small percentage of them are making big bucks. Right? So, I mean, there's probably some small number of these content creators that effectively won the lottery. They've got the right combination and they're making money. Say supposedly Amaranth makes like hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, doing the stupid things that she does.
Hot tub streaming.
So suppose, somebody makes $100,000 a month selling, their body online. But then for everyone who's doing that, there's thousands and thousands more who are making almost nothing. So 10 years, suppose we have a woman named Tanya and she's making $100 a month. Okay. And then she gives up after 3 months and she just sort of quits. So 10 years from now, she has a kid and the kid on the schoolyard is saying, hey, are these pictures of your mom? And what, for $100? They're giving an awful lot away on the cheap in the hopes of basically winning the lottery and becoming the next Amaranth. Well, and it's kind of sad.
The thing is like was a study done, and it's basically all of the OnlyFans users. It equals out to about the average earnings for an OnlyFans person is $180 a month.
Wow.
So you're not far off.
That's a lot to put yourself out there like that.
Well, the thing is that, and the highest earners on OnlyFans aren't normal people. Black China, she's very well known if you follow the Kardashians. She is the top earner. Bella Thorne.
I thought she was like in wrestling or something.
No. That's China. That's China, and she's dead, and she's been dead for a little bit.
I know nothing. Okay, continue.
You're fine. But it's like the top 4 earners on OnlyFans are Black China, Bella Thorne, Cardi B, and Tyga. These are people who are all already had careers before they joined OnlyFans. There's Mia Khalifa, who's a porn star, who's always makes the rounds on podcasts because of course she does. And then there's other ones that aren't kind of well known, but they're big on OnlyFans. But the top earners had something before that. And it's not necessarily them taking their clothes off or doing prawn-esque stuff that keeps them making money, because most people remember from a few years ago the big controversy when Bella Thorne joined OnlyFans, and then the people who paid for it found out she wasn't going to get naked. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like it's like Twitch, it's like YouTube, it's like Instagram, it's like TikTok, it's like everything. You think you're going to be this big earner, and there's a possibility of being a big earner, but statistically speaking, that's like the top 0.1% make that kind of money, not everybody, and most people don't.
Yeah, I think I'm making my point clumsily. Either that or I'm beating everybody over the head with my point. I don't know which. So I'll try to be succinct. So if you had a kid and he grew up in the inner city and he knew how to play basketball and he was like 6'8" or whatever, and he just said, you know, screw you, Dad, I'm not going to school. I'm not going to learn business and work in your stupid car dealership. I'm going to be a basketball star. And he just puts he just sort of blows off school, just practices his 3-point, you know, practices his jump shot, just does all that stuff and puts all his eggs in one basket, and it doesn't pan out, then he's screwed. Yep. And I kind of view these people as being in the same thing. It's like you're going, okay, I'm just going to put all my eggs in this one basket and hope to make it big. But I don't think that they understand there might be consequences, not massive consequences. I mean, they're not doing anything illegal. They're not going to necessarily get a record, but you know there's going to be, you've heard enough of these people complain about how they can't get a date, they can't do this, they can't do that because there's some amount of stigma. If you're making Amaranth money, you can pay for a lot of therapy, right? And retire it, you know, retire early, and it's going to be fine. But what about the person who's making $180 a month? I don't know. It just kind of makes me sad. All these people chasing a dream that isn't going to be there, and it's just going to come back to bite them later.
Well, there's also the even darker side of it, of the fact that the Amaranth thing isn't a perfect example because there has been accusations of her significant other being abusive and basically forcing the issue. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, I just mentioned her because she's she's well known on YouTube, so I figured she'd be a good example for a YouTube thing.
Oh yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like she is, and at this point, I'm the fact that she's aware enough to talk about the abuse. It's like, well, honey, you have the money, just effing leave. But that's not here nor there. But there's also the even darker side of like the Instagram model kind of thing of like the girls who do this kind of stuff. And so far we haven't heard about any guys, but there could be guys this is happening to. These women do get trafficked in some cases. Especially if they get asked to go to another country. There was a case like a year ago of a girl who was a worker on a worker on a yacht for a Middle Eastern person in the Middle East, and she had worked for them for about a year and went all these exotic places, and then she mysteriously ended up dead, and the cops didn't even look into it. She was dead on the boat.
Well, these things just happen sometimes.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing.
Mystery of the sea.
A real head scratcher.
And it happens a lot, and there's also a lot of sick sides to this, but it's one of those, it's like, especially with how things are going with AI art and stuff like that, like,
you know, can I make a comment about the OnlyFans thing? Would you mind if I just
No, please, and then after you've had your say, I'm going to move us on to the next thing, but we're fine for time. Go ahead. No, you're fine.
Quick comment about OnlyFans. You know, all the free porn you could ever want.
Yeah.
In any kink you want, or anything at all is available for free. So why does OnlyFans work? I asked myself, and myself answered back. The reason OnlyFans work is because it's the thrill of knowing the model personally. Everybody knows that, you know, everything on these porn sites is all acted out. That's a for-profit franchise. I mean, it's like a growth enterprise in the San Fernando Valley. I understand that's just sprouting up, you know, do-it-yourself porn all over the place, and everything gets out. Everything lasts forever. So it's a constantly burgeoning public library of porn people can go to, but nobody knows those people. If you know somebody, know something about them, you maybe invest a little time in getting to know their personality, and then you go to their OnlyFans page and you see them doing these sexy things. I think that combination is the reason that OnlyFans works. It's that closer linkage.
It's a parasocial relationship.
Yeah. It's Aiden Paladin territory. It's exactly what it is. It is a parasocial relationship, and that's what it is. That's what people are paying for.
I just want to make that comment. So
you're right.
That's why I think it works. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if you're only making $180, it basically means that nobody wants to be your friend.
Yeah.
Yep.
So sad. All right. Well, that was depressing.
So sad. I did not even start an OnlyFans.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, there's still time, Skep.
Yeah.
You're never too old.
Where are you going to be in 10 years, son?
Hey, Skep.
Nobody asked me that.
Skep, you could make it 3 million in one. Anyway.
Yeah, you never know.
So this happened.
Oh, yeah.
In the Pearl District, Portland's only REI store has been serving customers for nearly 2 decades. But on Monday, the outdoor gear retailer announced they'll close this location early next year. Many customers were surprised and disappointed.
I have always been a rock climber, and I ski and snowboard, so I come here a lot for supplies. So that will be a loss for the community.
Yeah, so things are going well in Portland. There's also this that happened.
Time staple in Northwest Portland just closed its doors, citing financial issues.
The move comes just after
Meaning
the food truck
theft.
co-op celebrated 50 years serving
And
the
people with money leaving.
Fox 12's Adrian Thomas in Northwest Portland with the story.
Well, the closure of Food Front comes after the board of directors announced financial troubles.
This co-op has been open for 50 years. So we've got downtown Portland losing that REI, which actually is an amazing store. I mean, if you like doing anything outside that, I mean, if you like REI, well, this is like the mothership of REI. This is like the ultimate REI experience, and it's going away.
The one in Denver was not bad, though, my friend.
The one in Denver is not bad, but this one is pretty amazing too. That's a great neighborhood. I've actually spent some time down there. It is sad that's closing, but this is just another symptom of this sort of nonsense. Between the crime, the inability to bring people in, workers, customers, people don't want to go downtown and deal with hypodermic needles and all that sort of stuff. It's just it's a perfect storm of that just forces these companies to close eventually.
Yeah.
And they've got stores in Clackamas and other ones nearby, and those people who shop at REI are reasonably well off. Yeah. They're just going to get in their cars on the weekend and go to some other place. And you know who suffers? The people who live in Portland and the downtown area and the economy.
Exactly right. That when
they
they're
did this
out
to
there
themselves.
driving to a distant city, they're not spending money in downtown Portland.
Yeah.
And if you listen to
they're
all
doing
of
this useless exercise of driving out of town to buy what they want to buy. That is unfulfilled demand right there. That's a market. That's what they call an internal market failure.
Yeah.
It's also the whole thing of if you watch certain YouTube channels, they all talk about, well, the reason why cities in America are bad in the way they are is because they're not walkable.
Yeah,
because they're not built to be walkable. And I'm like, honey, first you got to get the needles off the ground.
Yeah.
Then you can deal with the walkable part. You need to deal with the crime and that stuff.
When you say modern cities, which ones would you
they love to pick on New York and Los Angeles and stuff like that. And
people walk all the time in New York. You can't even afford a place to
walkable cities in.
I know. We're not saying you're wrong, Serenity. Yeah. We're saying they're wrong. But also, I can tell you firsthand, Portland, amazing bike city. Okay, maybe not great for walking. Fantastic place to have two wheels, or you can have a handlebar mustache and ride around on a unicycle. Because Portland, it's. Well, you've seen Portlandia, right?
Oh yeah,
the Fred Armisen thing. Yes. It's not far off. It's really pretty on the nose. But go on, Serenity.
Well, it's just they talk about that stuff, and they're all wannabe city planners because they all went to university to be city planners, and then no one wanted to hire them. That's basically the vibe a lot of these YouTube channels give me.
Yeah.
But it's the thing of it's like with everything. It's like with California. It's like West Virginia. It's you have, instead of going wishy-washy and going, well, I wish, you need to deal with the here and now and what actually is the case right now. Walkable cities, bikeable cities, whatever, like they have in Europe. That's a pipe dream. That's a lovely thought. We need to take care of the crime. We need to take care of the sex offender stuff. We need to take care of the drugs. When that gets taken care of, and there's no longer money being drained going into that, then maybe you can talk to the city planning about the fact that the only way they're going to be able to make walkable, or 15-minute cities, I think is the thing they say up in Canada, is you're going to have to bulldoze a section of the city, rebuild it, and then take it section by section. And that's the only way it's going to happen. And no one's going to put that money out.
They just build a monorail. Just saying.
They keep wanting to close down roads here.
Yeah,
so, like in downtown, they like to make squares, right? To make it just car-free squares, which the idea is not terrible.
Yeah,
but we literally have nowhere to drive. Then, if you're like, they want to do it exactly in an area of downtown where it's like, how else are you going to get there? Where are you going to park? Where are you going to do? Oh well, we're going to do a car-free downtown.
That's
but
lovely.
Then how
do
are
I
you
get downtown?
getting there? Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a great idea.
Oh, I have something for you. Okay, Sora, since we've talked about city planners and we've talked about cars in downtown, what about this article? I was actually not going to bring this one in. This is a backup article. Consultant recommends drastic increase in Zone M residential parking permit fees, potentially raising annual cost from $195 to $2,400.
I hope someone takes him out in his backyard and beats him with a wet noodle.
No, this is fantastic because I love the phrasing of this Northwest Portland news article. They talk about this person being renowned for this sort of stuff, and they refer to this as a market-based approach to solving this parking problem. Is it really market-based if you're really looking at how an economy with government support, by monopoly with government support functions? This isn't the market. If there was a market, what you would do is say we have this many permits, and they would put them up for auction, and people would basically, whoever the high bidder was, would get each one. The market would determine a price for what the parking's worth. That would be a market-based approach. The city just saying, cars are evil, there's too many of them, we'll sort this out, let's just jack the price up to $2,400. That's not a market solution to anything.
Yeah.
That's not that's taxing something into subservience. That's not market anything. Right, Skep?
No, it's not, definitely not. Yeah.
Well, they kind of do that here. So part of our if you park almost anywhere, the taxes that are part of your parking, it goes towards transit and stuff. So the idea is when transit needs more money beyond just increasing the ticket price, the parking tax is increased. So the signs will say, "Oh, it's $9 all day parking," and you get, or whatever, $9 an hour or something. Some areas you get excited because it's cheap. But then when you actually put your card in, it's like $13.
Yeah,
with all the fees and the taxes.
Are you talking about $9 an hour to park?
Yeah.
I
had to go because my dentist is downtown, and I paid $23 for 2 hours.
So do they take that money they raise and put it in a lockbox so that it can't be used for anything other than transportation-based things? And when they say that, do you all laugh, or are you just too polite?
Laugh on the inside so they don't arrest you.
Yeah, anytime you hear a politician use the word lockbox, just know that they're going to be paying off their friends with your money. Allegedly.
There's cheaper places to park than that, but that's pretty bad. But yeah. So when I see something like this, where it's at least that's monthly, I'm like, yeah, well, it's I can see it happening. It's not that bad here, but it's on its way.
Well, this isn't downtown parking. This is residential parking.
Well, yeah, no.
And what they're thinking is if they make the permits incredibly expensive, it will encourage people to build more driveway parking space and garages on their own private land. And it's true, it will. Making it impossible to park on the street will force people to park off the street.
But if you don't have room to build the parking structure or the driveway,
what if you have renters? So
just out of luck. Like,
hey, well, luckily none of us live in Portland. What can I say? Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. This is city planning at work when it comes to places like Portland.
I think I really do. I feel like city planners need to have a test before they go work like actual as city planners. I need to give you Age of Wonders or something similar to that. And I need to see how you build your city. How you treat the people in the game when you build your city. And if in the game they go, no, Frostpunk would be better because Frostpunk's evil. And just see how you do that stuff. Because I want to see you try to implement that stuff when there's actual survival on the cards. And we'll see how long before you're just pulling your hair out going, but they're not listening. It's like, welcome to people. Deal with it.
Yeah. Speaking of deal with it, federal judge strikes down Virginia's age limit on purchasing handguns. I guess Virginia had some brilliant idea that we were going to take 18 to 21-year-olds and deprive them of their Second Amendment rights.
They were going to do a bit of virtue signaling by changing the minimum age to own a handgun from 18 to 21. And that does not fly because we say in all these other things that you are an adult at 18, you can join the military and carry a gun. Guarantee you there are 18-year-olds in the military carrying guns, even as we speak. If you can carry a gun in the military for our country, you can carry a gun. You are 18. You are an adult. You're good to go. You better be good to go. And that's it. And that was just a common sense ruling. It also happens to be, well covered with, precedent and obviously the weight of the Second Amendment behind it.
Well, the question is what problem? Well, first of all, what problem are they trying to solve?
That re-election. They're trying to be re-elected, so they're doing some public virtue signaling in an utterly meaningless gesture.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're going to pass a law impinging somebody's constitutional rights, there is a higher burden placed upon the lawmaker.
There should be, shouldn't there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the courts will. If they don't do it for themselves, the courts will do it.
The courts did their job here.
The courts did their job here. If you're going to impinge on somebody's constitutional rights, you better damn well know what the hell you're doing. You need to have a compelling enough reason, to essentially do the yelling fire in a theater type of thing. You have to, you can't just willy-nilly decide to just say, don't you think it'd be a good idea if, and then just sign this thing. No. Golly gee. Some of those 18-year-olds are still in high school. Something might happen. Well, we should probably, why not just stop them all the way up to 21? Whatever. I don't care.
I mean, if you want to get it done, just make the minimum age 80.
Yeah.
Really virtue signal.
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad that I don't have to deal with all this crap since all my guns were lost in that fishing accident.
Yes. Well, God knows I lost mine and I've never replaced them.
Yeah. This is something nobody talks about, the number of guns that get lost while people are fishing.
Oh, man. Joe Pool Lake down here just south of Dallas, they said that the lake level is starting to go up just from the sheer number of firearms that have been lost in boating accidents.
Yeah, that could probably happen. So everything just the water just tastes like bluing and
like
gun oil.
It's a sheen of gun oil on it.
Does this fish taste like Winchester to you?
Yeah, Winchester bass.
You get just a soupçon of revolver.
Good bass.
Yeah, that's good bass. Well, I mean, in general, this is sort of a springboard to larger sorts of conversations. Like,
that was a bullshit law that was tough.
It is a bullshit law, but it ties into two things. First of all, there's the taking of people's rights for expedience, right? In this case, just sort of re-election. And then there's the question of, well, what does age and the law, how do those things sort of relate to each other? And so here's a related story. It comes after this story for a reason.
PD says 4 kids, one as young as 11, went on a crime spree this weekend.
2 of those juveniles ended up in the hospital after police say one of their victims pulled out his own gun and shot them. Natasha Robin has more from Gentilly.
Yeah, we can't show that because YouTube's very squeamish about it. So basically, 2 juveniles, 13 and 11, tried to rob some guy at gunpoint, and the fine patriot instead turned and started firing on them.
Was this gang on gang violence or neighborhood?
No, this was a guy they were trying to rob some guy, some perfectly normal guy like you or me.
So they're just being regular kids.
Just being regular kids.
So they got a gun. Did they get or did they try and rob him with a gun?
They tried to rob him with a gun.
Really?
So we've got kids, so we've got the idea of, like, at what age do we hold people responsible? for these sort of things? That's a real question.
These are just youthful hijinks.
And, and people who are older can utilize these kids to basically do their dirty work for them because they know they won't get prosecuted. It is not a good situation that we've got 11 and 13-year-olds trying to do real life Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming the video games. That's just a reference. I have real issues with the whole idea of, well, it gets into this whole, at which point is somebody responsible? It's like, for instance, if you're 16 years old and you're capable of driving a car that weighs thousands and thousands of pounds, I mean, you have the capacity to cause
mayhem,
fatal injury.
Yep.
To other human beings. So we've assumed that somebody who's 16 understands the concepts of life and death. I'm totally fine with trying 16-year-olds for first-degree murder.
Absolutely.
I think this whole idea that 18 for, understanding life and death is, it's arbitrary and stupid and wrong. And when we've got 11 and 13-year-olds doing armed robbery, I don't know. I think we need to put a lot more pressure on these kids. I'm all in favor of throwing them in jail, and the idea that they should get out when they're 18 and have their record expunged.
No.
Sorry, if you're an 11-year-old with armed robbery,
you'll spend your life in prison. Done.
You should at least have to. I mean, to get a juvenile's record sealed, there should at least be some kind of process where you have to go before a judge and you have to prove something.
He lives to be 100, then he can come up for parole, say in 30 years after that.
Well, I could see these kids getting pressured into doing stuff like this too. I mean, in some of these cases, these 11 and 13-year-olds might be the victims, but there was one of these things I saw on one of these true crime channels, and I know we just get copy struck into oblivion if I even brought a lot of it up.
Right.
But it was this group of Florida teenagers who essentially got together and conspired to kill this other teenage kid. And this is just a bunch of dumb, stupid, trashy Florida white teenagers just being the worst people on earth. I don't want any of these people tried as minors. I want all of them to get the full force of the law applied to them.
I'm with you.
Because like I said, it's not just about punishing them for what they did. We need to send a strong signal to other kids to make them think twice, because they show over an hour of the interview with the kids talking to the police, and they all thought that, well, since they weren't the ones that just did it, they were just the ones that tricked the kid into showing up in the right location. They didn't actually do something, that they didn't understand what being an accessory was.
Yeah.
They thought this was all just okay because some other kid, took a bunch of meth and then did the actual deed. These kids are absolutely clueless. We need to send a real message to them. And I think 16 is a great place to start. And what the hell do? Do you hold the parents responsible for this sort of thing? I mean, what's their culpability? If you're an 11-year-old and essentially your parents are in charge of you, what kind of legal liability do the parents have when they're 11-year-olds grabbing a gun and going out and robbing people?
Tremendous beyond understanding. It's just completely at risk. You are completely liable.
Yeah. I don't have a plan. I'm just frustrated. I just don't like any part of this.
You lose control of the 11-year-old. The 11-year-old goes out and shoots up people. You are going to get tried.
Yeah. Anyway.
You will go to jail in Texas. You really will.
Yep.
This is, the thing that underlies all this is a widespread social breakdown that's happening in a lot of the big cities. And the scary thing is it's happening in parts of Texas, parts of Houston and Austin, and even southwest part of San Antonio. Starting to get to be very rough neighborhoods. It's really starting to have an effect. We're seeing more and more transients come through. This more widespread social breakdown is going to be is going to be the cause of more inflation, more cost, and more pain in the American scene for another 20 or 30 years, I think, as a result of what has happened the last few years.
Yep. I need a break, Skep.
Sure.
Break.
Absolutely.
Okay, here's a fish that I hate. Are you with me, Sora?
I'm here.
Okay. Spotted handfish. Okay, this stupid fish can't even fish properly. It can't even fish properly. It walks around on its stupid hand fins. It's
Aww.
Okay, here's this stupid fish.
Oh, look at him.
Aww.
Look at him.
They're sweet.
Look, he can't swim. He just walks around on his stupid hands.
It got stuck in evolution. Look at him. Look at that face. He's offended.
No.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Look at the respiration.
Look at how useless this
really
fish is.
Interesting to watch.
It's doing nothing.
Oh, he's running
He can't.
water.
It can't even be a proper fish. Completely pointless. Kevke says it's cute.
Yeah, look at it.
He's running the water over his gills.
No.
He is. He's
This
doing
is-
it internally. It's interesting.
This fish is terrible.
Yeah.
You're right, Assassin. It kind of looks like Magikarp, doesn't it? Like,
This is a short bus fish if there ever was one.
You know what that from that angle, that picture of that fish looks like Kamala Harris in profile.
poor fish. Doesn't deserve that comparison.
Yeah, this fish actually. No, I'm not gonna do that pun. I'm not gonna make a pun about that fish. Okay.
Nope.
So what about this fish? I think this fish is pure nightmare fuel. But it's actually from the Permian era, so luckily they're all dead. Okay, they all died when 90% of everything on Earth
Harry's
died
glad they're dead.
in the Great Permian extinction. So look at this terrible 6-foot-long armored death shrimp that basically was the first. It was the first super predator that we know of. This thing,
that's with those mandibles.
this thing, 6 foot long, with a whole bunch of eyes, could actually see very, very well. So it had really good vision to spot things it wanted to kill, and it was very, very fast. And it swam around in the Permian seas of Earth, just chewing on everything. Now, they're not entirely sure if it was able to chew through the shell of a trilobite, but pretty much everything else was fair game for this thing. And it just hunted and hunted and ate everything it could get its hands on. Here's a fossil image of it, but 6 feet long, 6 foot long armored death shrimp. And it's got these jagged spikes on
It's
these
like
mandibles.
a saber-toothed shrimp.
It's a saber-toothed shrimp.
It's saber-toothed shrimp. That's perfect, Sora.
Yeah.
Well played.
Yeah.
That's
Anomalocaris, aka shemp, from the Greek meaning unusual shrimp, was a major predator in the ancient seas. Fossils from the Cambrian and the Burgess Shale in Canada, see, it's a Canadian shrimp, even worse, and formations in China, Greenland, Australia, and Utah show that this large ancient shrimp was widespread during this period. Yeah.
Wow, 6 foot of shrimp. You know, that's like shrimp cattle.
Yeah.
Get a side of shrimp.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of us, if we had our time machine and decided to go swimming in the Permian Ocean, this would not be a welcome thing to run into.
No, it'd be a bad day. Bad day for you.
This is terrible, and I hate it. And I'm glad it's dead.
Yeah. I
Suck
echo
it,
the sentiment.
Permian.
And I hope all of them are dead. I hope they're not lurking in some secret ravine somewhere or holed up in some undersea cave.
Well, we don't think they have any direct descendants, but they are essentially related to shrimp and crabs and things like that.
Yep.
But the Permian was a long time ago.
It was a minute ago.
Yeah, actually
It survived on the dark side of the moon. At
Yeah.
the Nazi moon base.
That was the Permian extinction is what you're talking about.
Yep.
And,
one of the 5 major extinctions on this planet. Yeah, not a good thing. Oh yeah, that REI is closing. I've just got a bunch of bad news. I'm just getting tired of bad news. It's depressing me. Yeah, making me sad.
Yeah, even your evil fish made me sad.
Okay, well here's one that I actually wasn't planning on talking about, but since Sora's here, okay, Triops Facts about three-eyed dinosaur shrimp. Look at this stupid thing.
It looks like a horseshoe
Am I looking
crab.
on top or underneath it?
Yeah, no, he's got like 3 eyes on top of his head. It's
Tastes
like
like chicken.
this is 2 of them. They're intertwined. I don't know what they're doing, but it's probably
Hey.
something for
Pinky.
only shrimp.
Yeah.
Pinky.
I hate these
Only
two.
shrimp.
I mean, 3 eyes, hence triops. Okay, but yeah, I mean, who wants a 3-eyed
Are you
death
just jealous
shrimp?
they have an extra eye?
Yeah, exactly. It's for the Lovecraftian pineal gland thing.
Well,
All right, anyway, enough of these stupid shrimp.
It's
Where
adorable.
were
You
we?
think that only a third eye makes it Lovecraftian.
Let's see,
That's
juveniles.
the third eye we see, you know, the
Liberal
other eyes
Washington State.
are interdimensional.
So, apparently nobody's seen Clint Eastwood for like 450 days, and people are starting to worry that something might be amiss.
He's 92.
He is. He is 92. And
Like,
his,
get off my lawn.
Yeah, basically.
well, he actually,
Chill.
yeah, no, I mean, Clint Eastwood's a good guy, but it's not just Clint. A lot of these old great people are just kind of, it seemed like a whole bunch of them died all at once there. I don't know, probably just some kind of coincidence. Not related to
They're called
anything that was
old
going on
age.
around them. Yeah. You think it was just old age?
I'm being sarcastic, but okay, go away.
Oh, yeah.
Go with it.
Well, a lot of old people have died of suddenly in the last few years. So it would be really sad if we end up losing Clint. But personally, the one that I'm most worried about is I'm going to wake up some morning and find out Shatner's gone, and then I'm going to have a bad day.
That's
'Cause that's genuinely going to make me sad.
Yeah,
You
but the
and me
difference
both.
is like Shatner at least runs around, so
Mhm.
we have confirmation of life. But at the same time, like Clint Eastwood's freaking estate, the man could walk around it for his daily constitutional, and it's bigger than some cities. Like, so, like, not seeing him for 450 days, it just, I mean, it just might be he's just.
Does he still live in the Carmel
Area? Yeah, he does.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been out to his ranch, but I have spoken with somebody who did some work on his
Is
ranch.
he up in Carmel Valley?
I don't know the exact location, but he's sort of in that Carmel area.
Yeah.
Let's not confuse him with Leon Panetta and Belladonna Ranch. That's a different place in Carmel Valley.
Well, he has a place in Carmel, he has a place in Bel Air,
Yep.
and he has a place in Sun Valley, Idaho. I almost said
Yeah.
Idaho.
He can be wherever the hell he wants to be because he's Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But it does make me sad that we're losing so many of these kind of great icons. And I like I said, I think the one that's going to really drive the point home that we're all getting old is going to be Shatner.
Shatner, there will be a month of mourning for Canadians and Americans because we both taken them in.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I mean, a lot of the sort of old Hollywood stuff, some stars just sort of disappear. Like you don't see them that much, and then others still sort of hang around in your consciousness. Like Raquel Welch died not that long ago. And I was kind of surprised that there wasn't more, that more people didn't really notice, since she had been a sex symbol for like 4 generations.
No kidding.
You know, I mean, that's a lot of staying power.
All by keeping her top on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, what a smart girl she was.
Yeah.
You know.
And then there's some celebrities that you wish would go away, like Jane Fonda or Joy Behar.
Jane's got amazing hair for her age. I don't know how the hell she pulls that off.
I don't think it's real, but okay.
That's not real hair.
You don't think it's real?
No.
Yeah, well, what do I know?
Well, okay, let me rephrase that. It was real for someone. It's not hers.
Yes, exactly. Someone grew that hair. It wasn't Jane Fonda.
Some poor Chinese girl.
I think bad plastic surgery has done more to drive, especially women stars into seclusion. You know, you've got your Ursula Andress. It's like, holy crap! What the hell what happened?
Well, it's like Courtney Cox. She's talked about it openly about the bad plastic surgery, and
Just
she
don't.
was like, well, she's like, when you're in it, and especially when you have yes people around you, you don't realize how bad it looks until you just have that one either friend or family member who goes, ugh, and then you're like, ah. She's been able to get some of her fillers dissolved, so she actually looks legit. She looks better now, but yeah, it's There's a difference
She
between.
was otherworldly there for a while.
She was getting close to Lion Lady there for a while.
Yes.
But there's this whole thing of like, there's a difference between aging terribly, aging gracefully, and not accepting the fact that you're aging. You can age gracefully and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. We all get old and die. Just suck it up and go with it.
Well, I mean, some people do age gracefully and some people just kind of don't. Those German genes kick in and next thing you know, it's like, oh, holy crap.
Yeah.
Or the joke that it's always with East Asians.
Mm-hmm.
Hot granny. Curly hair and moo and everything.
Yeah. When the crying suddenly turns into scolding. But yeah, that's oh, well, hey, it's right. We're talking about that. Well, while I'm trying to not be depressed, let's take a look at this, which I didn't think we'd have time for, but Sora will love this. She's still with us? She is. Okay. What about this, Sora? Photos of the Japanese subculture where people wear giant Cyclops masks.
Yes. We need this in
Do you have any
America.
clues to what the hell's going on with this? There's this thing in Vice. They say introducing Tangaman, one of the more underground movements in Japanese style. So, you know, you can just like wear your little outfit, go to the store as one does. Maybe
This
have a
is
little
more
flash
normal.
mob.
This is more normal than the donut on the forehead trend from
Yeah.
many
Wait, what?
years back.
What?
Like when you used to inject your like saline or something into the forehead to make it look like a donut.
Why?
This is because of counterculture and whatever trends, etc. So this is fine. This is cute.
Yeah, because
I
it's
like
just a
this.
mask.
Yeah.
You like
it's like,
this?
It's like it's like Yummy Kawaii or Harajuku girl stuff. It's not that. This is nothing.
Well, I don't know. It looks kind of like something to me.
Well, I mean, it does, but at the same time, it's like a lot of, especially in Japan, a lot of their yokais and kaijus and stuff like that have a lot of like the good spirits have not kaiju, but a lot of the yokai and like the good spirits have one eye.
Mm-hmm.
So they're also playing into that a little bit, and it's a little surprising, but it's Japan. There's really normal stuff, and then there's really freaking weird stuff.
Okay, yeah, this seems kind of out there. I mean, I don't really have a problem with it. I don't think we need to crack down on these people, but yeah, I'm half expecting to look in the chat and when they say, well, you know, two nukes wasn't enough. That's usually what we get as a response to this sort of thing. I mean, I like Japan. I like Japan. I like Japanese people, but man, I don't get some of this stuff.
Well, it's. I think it probably has a lot to do with the fact that the Lolita style and has nothing to do with the book. Just putting that out there in the chat. Lolita style and Harajuku and Yummy Kawaii aren't as. They're much more mainstream now than they used to be. So you have people who are trying to still be counterculture and are trying to push the counterculture thing, but still not be like freaks, I guess is the best way to put it. Like they want to be freaks, but they want to be freaks on their own terms. And in Japan, this is what they're doing. I wouldn't want to like turn around and see someone standing at the end of a dark alley with that on. That would scare the shit out of me.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, I was just
it's cute.
I just saw this and thought, okay, I should probably mention this at some point when I've got Sora and Serenity on at the same time. So the verdict is not really all that weird. It's just Japan and it's cute.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the verdict.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I would say too.
Well, I mean, it's
It
like
has a
what Sora
playful
said.
air to it. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's like what Sora said. Like, it's not the freaky, like, let's expand the skin on our forehead with the saline solution in a form of a
no.
mold
That's a hard
thing.
no.
Yeah,
that's a hard no.
Exactly. It's not like some death cult weirdo thing following some, revolutionary thing going to lead him to the spaceship.
They're not wearing Che Guevara's face. That's all I care about.
It's just a funny mask. Everybody can relax, I think.
Okay. So do we feel better now? The gloom and doom is
Yes.
gone. Okay. So now Skep
made
is
me
going
happy.
to we're going to laugh at the failure of another country. Skep, Argentina is going broke. Going broke to stall a full-on currency collapse. Can you unpack this for us in, say, 5 minutes, just to help us understand the 104% inflation of Argentina?
Yeah, the
quick question. I apologize. Is Argentina is not one of the ones that's socialistic, right? Or is it one of the ones?
They have been a populist, semi-fascist, democratic sort of fascist.
Do you mean the democratic with the parentheses?
The four main economic policies really that defined Argentina for a long time were protectionism, and they were loose with their central bank. That was another thing. Another thing they did was they overregulated everything. They wanted tight government control, but they also had very uncontrolled spending on the part of the government, and they overspent in every department. They overspent year after year after year. I'm going to show you a graph. Remember that I said that year after year after year when you see this graph. And so the protectionist policies ended up nuking their agricultural and manufacturing heartland, that they had been they had decided they wanted to become self-reliant. They wanted to be able to shut the world out and just do everything Argentinian. This is a recurrent theme with them. Argentinian good, everyone else bad. That's kind of the way Argentinian populism was. And then they also had they levied import restrictions. This is the overregulation I was talking about. And they started these small scale kind of trade wars. By 2015, they had trade conflicts that had essentially halted trade with more than 40 different countries. They were scrambling to get basic things into the country just so they could survive. And the value of their currency was going down. Again, keep that in mind when we look at this graph in just a minute, when I wind this up. So the other thing was that they had the government was into price controls. And so they set the price of gas. They set the value of the exchange rate, and they also they nationalized the private pension system. So they just said, yeah, we'll take charge of that. They took all that loose cash and promptly spent it, okay, and gave them an IOU, which is what our country does.
But no lockbox?
Yeah, no lockbox at all. And if you ever had an adversarial position toward the financial services industry, which was in complete control of this sector by now, you would have problems doing any kind of business in Argentina. So you had to make peace with these things. And so the private sector economy was in shambles. The government embarks on this spending spree. I think it was in about 2002 or 3 when the populist fiscal policies first came into force. They spent like 93 billion pesos annually. Remember that, 93 billion. Don't worry about what the value of a peso. 93 billion pesos. By 2015, okay, 12 years later, that's what it was. They had that number had gone up to 2.4 trillion pesos annually in the form of income tax transfers. I need to share this. You would think I would be more.
A trillion of anything is a lot.
Yeah, a trillion of anything is just damn hard to imagine. I wanted to just quickly wind up with this, and you will see what happened to their money supply. And this is the let's see. Sure. Okay, if you'd put that in, Harry. And if you look at this is the value of Argentine M3. That number down there is 500,000. It doesn't even matter what you're counting. Trust me, it's something that translates into pesos. And up here is it's a little bit hard to see, particularly if you're old. That's 5.5 million. Okay, that's 500,000 on the bottom to 5.5 million. Look what it does from the 90s through the early 2000s and 2019 or 2014 and so forth. And you see it just absolutely take off completely. M3 is the complete money supply of a country. It's the long and short-term deposits. It's basically all the cash and easily convertible securities that you could liquefy, including the long-term block deposits, the very big deposits of cash on hand. And that is because in order to meet their obligations, the Argentines did exactly what we did. They turned on the printing press and they printed money like they meant it. And so that was the sad story of the Argentine economy. As a result, they are out of liquid money. They have nothing back it up. That nobody's taking their IOUs anymore. The IMF is reviewing lots of loans that they have with them. There are all kinds of problems ahead for Argentinian banks, and the Argentinian government are both just in deep shit, and they're just running the money printing presses faster and demanding that the world yield to their demands. We demand that you honor our peso, and the peso is going right down the toilet, which it will. This will crash the peso. So if you want to look into the future, here's what will happen. I almost am certain the world will force them, because they'll stop doing business with them, will force them to reverse split the peso, probably something like 10 for 1, right? It'll be 1 for 10. You'll get 1 new peso for 10 of the old ones. And that's how they will begin to get their stuff back in order. You may want to think about that if you're holding dollars or securities that are convertible into dollars, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I put up a helpful graphic for
shiny stuff.
Yeah,
shiny stuff. You can't print that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, thank you. So whatever
anyway,
you
so
do,
there you go.
don't be
story.
Argentina.
Yeah, don't be like the and so class. The lesson is don't be like Argentina or the United States.
Never go full Argentina. Hint, hint,
never.
wink, wink, nudge,
right.
nudge.
Thank you for the forum. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. So again, no clear segue between one of these things and the next. Study describing breastfeeding as natural is unethical because it reinforces gender roles. I shit you not.
Fuck off.
Yeah, and this is from
Really?
2017.
Do it today. Do it.
It is ethically inappropriate for government and medical organizations to describe breastfeeding as natural because the term enforces rigid notions about gender roles, claims a new study in pediatrics. Coupling nature with motherhood can inadvertently support biologically deterministic arguments about the roles of men and women in the family. Well, last I checked, it was kind of a hard fact that, well, I guess actually you could give men a bunch of hormones and force them to make milk, but I don't think they'd be able to feed a kid.
Well, here's the problem is that men lack the glands to make the milk. Okay?
Yeah.
They haven't developed them, even if they got some primordial type of tissue from years of estrogen therapy, started to get some developing that type of tissue that could eventually turn into a milk gland that, they'd be 90 years old before it.
But it ain't happening.
No,
it's not happening.
It's bullshit.
It's not happening. But yeah, I found this article. It wasn't even hard to find.
The funny thing is that I thought, so isn't there a movement to try to stop calling something natural because there's some people who unfortunately cannot do it, right? So there's women like instead of
Well, I mean, people should
Thank
live
God.
should definitely live their best life, but there are certain biological things you run into.
Thank God we have
you
our
know,
protectors out there.
You know, it's just people should be able to live their life any way they want, but making it so you can't have an honest, straightforward conversation about something as essential as breastfeeding is just ridiculous. You know, it's actually hurting science when people are walking around in eggshells like this. Pediatrics is like a real journal, and the fact that people were getting heat for talking about something that's germane to the topic of pediatrics, aka breastfeeding, is insane. This isn't the only thing I found. There's a whole bunch of stuff just like this out there in the literature. This is not even remotely an isolated incident, but the thought police just want to redefine language. It just irritates me. It's so sad to see the academy turn into what it's turned into.
Impose their will on you. The language now works this way. These are my pronouns, bigot. And you have to dance while you say them, and you're not dancing correctly. Bigot, go to jail.
Well, okay.
Sorry.
I mean, enough said about that. Unless anybody has any more comments they want to add.
I like Prospero's comment.
What did Prospero say?
The last one.
Pediatrics was a real journal. Yeah, no kidding.
No kidding.
Birthing bodies.
It's very kind of interesting to watch. Once again, this is the pendulum swing thing, where
Mm-hmm.
for the longest time, conservative air quotes, they would attack air quote conservative people for the fact of like, well, if you're breastfeeding, you don't have to do it in public with your tit out. Just cover her up or go somewhere else. And they were like, well, breastfeeding is natural. It should be fine. You don't look at my tit as something sexual. It's like, no, I'm trying to eat, and I really don't want to listen to your baby make noises. That's just I don't want to do it. I don't. But but now it's swinging back to the other side, and now that side's just saying, well, like we can't call breastfeeding natural now because if we say that, the people who can't naturally breastfeed, there are women out there who are incapable of it, which
that's why wet nurses exist.
Well, it's the reason why formula exists. But it's one of those
Well,
things.
they had wet nurses before formula for like hundreds of years.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where it's kind of like this. Let's face facts. Most of the people who are going to have kids are not the kind of people who are going to be insulted by someone like doing like, they're not going to be like, well, you can't call it natural. Most of those people aren't going to have kids who do that kind of stuff. And the people who are going to be pissed about this, it's kind of like everything. It's like, you're not going to have kids anyway, because most of you are child free because you call them crotch goblins or gremlins or whatever.
Crotch goblins.
Yeah.
I like crotch goblin.
Well, the thing is, it's not bad in a funny way, but when it's done in a mean way, where they're like going after parents online, control your crotch goblins, that kind of shit. That's when I get pissy. But it's that whole thing of like the type of people who are pitching a fit about it and calling breastfeeding natural are never going to have kids anyway. The study's going to go through. People are going to ignore it. Most people ignore most of these studies at this point anyway, because everybody's just like, screw you. I'm done listening to you. People are pushing. There's a lot of pushing back about a lot of things. But anyway, it's just.
Anyway, this is dumb.
Yeah. People need to get a life. Pediatrics used to be a good thing. It's not. Another publication will take the.
Well, it hasn't. The question is it better or worse than Scientific American at this point? No, Scientific American is hot garbage.
American is crap.
It is such crap.
Yeah, Prospero, you're right.
If you had a pet parrot, they wouldn't even shit on that now. That's just terrible. So, speaking of terrible things,
police have brought in extra officers to deal
this is
with
for
the illegal
Oakland, because I hate
sideshows.
Oakland.
But no matter how much they say they're cracking down, we still see scenes like this one. Fireworks going off and cars lit on fire. And business owners in the area say they are fed up. Jose Martinez reports.
Oakland residents woke up to a scene of destruction and chaos this morning right here on the corner of Oak Street and 10th Street.
He has lovely hair.
Night. Showed activity.
That's a well-groomed beard.
This is what the corner of 10th and Oak Streets in Oakland looked like this Saturday morning.
I know where that is.
Last night.
Just where that is.
A completely different and chaotic scene.
Well, it's like this car's on fire, but for some reason he decided that maybe he should just like bump it with this Subaru.
See,
It all happened around 1
let's do it again.
a.m. right across the street from the Oakland Museum of California. That ain't cool.
I have a feeling that's not his Subaru.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Throwing that out there.
Might be
So
one
yeah, that's Oakland.
up the street.
A city that's completely out of control, and at some point you think these people are going to get tired of it and do what the people in that city in Washington did. How much more do you think people can take of this crap? I mean, if I was living in Oakland, I wouldn't take any more of this crap.
There's going to be a point where someone, people, it's going to be rooftop Koreans are going to start happening. And
Yeah,
it's not going to be Korean people because they're just going to be like, screw it. You're not taking them to jail, and I'm the right skin color that you can't touch me. Let's do this.
there are plenty of people of color who live in these neighborhoods who are not on board with any of this, and they may end up just cleaning up their own neighborhoods. You're right.
Well, that's the thing. I think the mob is going to come back in another form. You know, where it's like you pay protection money, and it's like, yeah,
that's already happening.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely,
already happening.
It's like pay me. I know it's not going to be this low. Pay me $50 a month, or $50 a week, or something like that, and I'll make sure these little
place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen, and then you're going to have issues with the mob. This is going to be the beginning of the resurgence of the mob. I guarantee you.
Well, I hadn't even considered that possibility, so thank you for that.
You're welcome. Well, it's like, I mean, it's already happening in New York. You have the non-pay backed mob, which is like the Jews are now teaming up with a lot of the East Asians in their neighborhoods and showing them, hey, we'll walk all together and police our own freaking neighborhoods because the cops ain't doing it. And the Jews have been doing that for years anyway. And then you have the bad version of the mob who are like, hey, man, just pay me a little bit of money and we'll be doing this good. All right.
Hey, you get a nice business here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it. So, again, no good segue here, except these are both things in Oakland. So part 2 of I Hate Oakland. This is amazing. Oakland teachers strike for climate justice.
God.
So it's not just that they want a bunch more money. It's not just that, but they want more than just money, because they're not only looking out for themselves. Oh no, they're looking out for the greater society at large. Teachers' unions once focused on the details of compensation and tenure, but these days there's a vanguard for broader progressive politics. This week's illustration is the teachers' union strike that is holding children hostage in the name of climate and housing for the homeless. The strike by the 3,000-member Oakland Education Association in California is heading into its 5th day. Now, it's near the end of the freaking school year, which is a point we'll come back to in a moment.
Yeah.
And the impasse isn't overpay. Of course it's not. The district has offered to raise a record raise that would immediately increase salaries by 22% plus a $5,000 bonus. Talk about giving people everything they could ask for. Most workers would love that increase, especially if performance doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're a shitty teacher. We're just going to give you a 22% raise and a $5,000 bonus for reasons.
Because union.
Yeah, because union. The Oakland Unified School District has lost students for 5 consecutive years as families have fled to suburbs with higher performing and safer schools. This has resulted in a financial squeeze, which was only partly mitigated by federal pandemic aid. I don't know where this 22% is coming from. I have no idea how they think they're going to pay for this, because there can't be that kind of money just lying around for the Oakland schools.
Let me tell you. Let me explain how they will.
Well, hold on. I want to finish framing this before you do that.
Okay,
yet the union's demands go far beyond teacher pay or working conditions. For instance, the union wants the district to repurpose vacant school buildings for homeless housing and to landscape schoolyards with drought-resistant trees. The union also wants reparations for black students to remedy alleged historic injustices.
What?
How about instead remedying the enormous learning deficits the union has caused by protecting bad teachers and closing the schools during the pandemic?
Yeah.
Perhaps the district should extend the school year, or better yet, provide families with better private school vouchers. Instead, the union wants the first week of school year to focus on creating a positive school culture.
How about feeding the kids, using that money to set up a breakfast club?
No. First week, we're going to have Climate Justice Day. with teach-ins, workshops, and field trips.
Uh,
Yeah, so this is actually from the Wall Street Journal. Maybe kids can't read, but they can be unemployed climate warriors. Supposedly, this is all coming from the National Education Association's, guide on how they're going to make the world a better place. They're saying, don't just ask for more money, also try to reshape the world while you're on strike. So, Skep, you were going to explain to me about the money and stuff. But before you do that, I also have a question for, I have a question for you in addition to that. Why is it that if you were the person working for the city negotiating these contracts, or if I was, I would certainly arrange it so that if your contract would not expire until after the school year was over, first of all, and if a new contract wasn't in place on day one of the kids going back to school, I wouldn't even let you in the door. I would just start hiring new teachers or doing whatever it is I had to do. This is ridiculous that these people can hold them hostage. It's against the law to have a contract end after the school year's over.
It is against the law to hire scabs if you're in a negotiation with a teachers union in California.
So as long as you're in a negotiation, the school has to stay closed forever. Is that what
Bingo.
you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
They can shut it down. They have
Well,
the problem is because that gets for them to be a real problem, because that their constituency, their membership are mobs. And so here's the thing. They also have an interest in getting back to school. So there's substantial member interest in getting the thing settled. And that's a huge pressure on union leadership to do the right thing. It's almost the only one, Harry.
Yeah. These negotiations should happen over the summer, and they should be completed before the school year starts. They just should. You wouldn't run any other business this way.
No.
Yeah, I'm not saying they can't collectively bargain. I'm not implying that they don't have the right to collectively bargain or anything, but
safeguards.
But it shouldn't.
Will get an education.
The contract should not be ending a couple weeks before the end of the school year. This is just dumb. This is just dumb.
Plays into the hands of the union perfectly.
You have a little info on some things?
Love to.
Okay, so per the Google, for a single adult, the typical required annual salary before taxes to live in Oakland semi-comfortably for one adult is $49,000 a year. The median income, this is 50% of all teachers in Oakland, make $68,000 a year.
Yeah.
The top makes $97,000 a year. The bottom make $47,000 a year. And while looking at that group, I have a pretty good feeling good portion of them are alone. We know not all of them are. So this is even the bottom 10%, which is the 47,000, still is almost reaching the required annual income before taxes to live comfortably in Oakland.
Does that include the $180 a month from OnlyFans?
Did you look at them? I highly doubt they're making even 180.
No,
but
not hot for teacher. Okay.
Yeah, really.
Not hot teacher.
Well, I'm sure. No, I'm going to stop. I'm going to make a bad comment. We're going to stop. Anyway,
that's okay.
So they want to raise all of the teachers' salaries 22%.
Yeah.
You're going to put the top earners in the six figures for elementary teachers.
Well, they are the real heroes, Randy. I don't know.
I say this, if there's anyone listening who's a teacher, I say this respectfully. My grandmother was a teacher. She was a spiteful, hateful bitch. Most of them are. I'm sorry if that makes anybody mad. Most of them are not worth the stuff. They're not worth the paper their master's degree that didn't mean a damn thing is printed on. And that's kind of the thing of you don't care about kids. You care about
painting with a very broad brush.
Yeah.
I knew a lot.
It's the only brush we've got.
Exactly. But it's one of those things where it's kind of it's the whole thing of you don't have to work for 3 months out of the year. I have friends who were teachers who were not bad people, who are still teachers. I just say that about my grandmother because she was one for 35 years. But who you can have the paychecks spread out through, so this way it's the entire year. So this way you're not going 3 months without a paycheck. You can get a second job during the summertime, which is a lot of other people who do other jobs don't have that luxury. But like, you don't actually have to do that much work because most of the lessons plans are already planned for you by either the union, the county, or the school board. So I know you're not doing that much work. You don't actually have to pay money to put stuff into your classroom because trust me, none of those kids give a damn if you've decorated your classroom.
All you have to
none
do
of us
is
remember.
read the lesson plan to the kids. That's what a lot of them do. You are right about that.
Or put a YouTube video in and let the Green Brothers teach them for you with their crash course series. Like, it's not that hard of a job because if it was, you wouldn't be able to have subs who don't even have bachelor's degrees be subs for extended periods of time. And that's what most of these districts have. Most of the substitute teachers are coming in with and doing the lessons plans. And in some cases, the kids like the substitute teachers better than they like the real ones. It's just
the substitute teachers never have master's degrees, right? That's
well,
why the
they're
kids
not
like them
required.
better. That's why
Yeah.
that's why the kids like them better.
But that's the thing, though.
They're
of,
not
like,
overeducated idiots.
Yeah, really. But and that's kind of the thing of like, I lived in a very large city making on average $32,000 a year. I was fine by myself. What are you all doing? I'm talking about teachers. What are they doing? Or how much debt have they built up because they have to give this appearance of this life that they need that much money? You don't. Okay, so is it coming out and you're not actually making that much because the union's taking that much in dues? If that's the case, maybe you need to strike the union. But it's just there's a lot of, you're not that important.
Yeah,
You're not.
I have seen video recently. There was this one girl, this teacher took her phone, so she pepper sprayed the teacher a few times trying to get her phone back because she was using her phone during a test to look stuff up. There are definitely, I'm sympathetic to what some of the teachers are putting up with. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm absolutely sympathetic to that sort of thing. I'm just not used to the idea of, there's a single buyer for labor, there's a single seller for labor, 22% immediate increase regardless of performance. Regardless of performance, just everybody just gets 22%. And here just have $5,000. That money can't just exist. I mean, I know there's a lot of slop that goes on at the headquarters, the district office. I know there's a lot of overhead stuff. But the idea that there was just 22% lying around that they could have been paying teachers all along.
No way, Jose.
No freaking way. This is a ticking time bomb waiting to go off because this is not going to be sustainable.
Well, it's also like the fact that, like, if you're going to sit here and talk about climate and homelessness, shouldn't you not be wanting to take a pay raise? Shouldn't you be going, well, no, we're going to go without a pay raise because homelessness needs to be dealt with? Why are you taking a pay raise on top of? No, that's not how it works. Like,
well, let's not get carried away, Serenity. I mean, we could do all the things.
Oh yeah. It's
well.
kind of like the people who think all you have to do is tax billionaires and you'll have all the money in the world. It's like, you're an idiot. You don't understand how finance works.
Well, shall we talk about some science?
Yes.
And not talk about this. Okay. So there's a space probe that was launched by the European Space Agency called JUICE, which is going to Jupiter to study the icy moons around Jupiter.
By Jove.
I love this. This is fantastic. I mean, if we were doing it, it would be better, but whatever. The Europeans are sending a probe to explore the icy moons around Jupiter. The one problem that they had, though, was that the antenna array, one of the antennas, was sort of stuck, and it wasn't actually. They had to actually get this thing to come loose. So there's a little bit of video here. Can I make this larger?
I love that.
That's a little better. Okay, people can see now, right?
And
okay.
Watch this thing deploy.
Yeah, and look, they launched this thing in April, and it's been stuck ever since then. And they managed to essentially use heating and cooling and vibration to get this thing to finally, come loose.
They fired a mechanical device called a non-explosive actuator located in the jammed bracket to jar it loose, according to ESA.
Now, being the child that I am, the first thing that popped into my mind was this. Okay, that's an earthquake. Let's go back to that. So, yeah, it's kind of astonishing. You know, you launch a space probe. It's a super expensive thing. It takes decades to get to where you need to be a lot of times. And after launch, you suddenly realize that, you know, somebody left the protective film on the telescope, or just, you know, something happened. There is like nothing that you could do.
Wasn't there something that was wrong with the Hubble telescope, and it was just still close enough to Earth that they had like a team from the International Space Station do something with it?
They had to send people up on the space shuttle and essentially put corrective optics on it because it was a manufacturing error.
Oh, that's what it was. Because I remember when that happened. Everybody was like,
yeah.
I just remember the son of a bitch moment.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah, no, that was a problem. But the engine, you know, let's just say these people are very smart and they're very motivated. The resourcefulness that they're able to show to get stuff like this fixed, because, you know, you can't call the repairman. This thing's out in space hurtling toward Jupiter. If you can't figure out how to solve it on the ground, it isn't going to get solved.
Right.
What you're saying is none of them are French.
You're never going to see this again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're never going to see this again.
It's gonna be like,
there's something spooky about that to me, to send something like Voyager out into the great beyond.
Yeah.
Poor Voyager.
It's eerie.
Yeah, Sailor Moon is not going to go out there and fix it for us. Yeah, we need special space magical girl to take care of it.
Everyone, light a candle for Voyager as it goes outside of our system. It's already done it. Goodbye, little one.
Bon
You've done well.
voyage.
You've done well.
Well, the weird thing was that
you.
Voyager 2 actually left before Voyager 2, 1 did, even though it was launched later. But
both of them. Goodbye, Voyager 1 and 2. You've done well. You've worked well. Mommy loves you. Goodbye.
I found this. I mean, it's also science, but it's a little bit different. Mediterranean diets, cellular effects revealed. So people have long tried to figure out, why is it that these drinking, chain smoking people who live in the Mediterranean seem to live for so damn long and actually maintain good health? And there's been a lot of conjecture about the types of diet that the Mediterranean people eat and why it has a beneficial effect. Well, we may have gotten some little tiny clue as to what this actually is. Researchers from the Stanford School of Medicine have found one of the first cellular connections between healthy fats, known as monounsaturated fatty acids, and lifespan in laboratory worms. Now, worms, not people, but this is still a step in the right direction. The finding hints at a complex relationship between diet, fats, and longevity. The researchers learned that one of the fats in the Mediterranean diet, oleic acid, increases the number, shemp acid, increase the number of two key cellular structures or organelles and protects cellular membranes from damage by chemical reaction called oxidation. The protective effect has a big payoff. Worms fed food rich in shemp acid. Was it oleic? Oleic.
Yeah.
Oleic. Sounds very Spanish. Acid lived about 35% longer than those consigned to standard worm rations, the researchers found. Now, 35% is huge. That's like a huge amount. Surprisingly, one of the organelles, known as lipid droplets, served as a de facto crystal ball, predicting the increasing accuracy, the number of days each animal would live. The number of lipid droplets in individual worms tells me that the animal's remaining lifespan. So they looked at what effect the diet has, what it actually affects, and how they're able to use that structure in the cells of the worms that were fed this different diet to predict how long these things are going to live. I think this is pretty good because it isn't just correlation between the diet and the pictures of these old smoking alcoholics living forever. This is actually like a real sort of like hypothesis test, type of situation. This is real science.
I would love to see like their lab procedures.
Yeah.
Get down to a very detailed level to see. I want to see how they tested this stuff.
Well, I will put the link in the chat, and you can Everybody can enjoy it.
Oh, I'm going to drill in that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really interesting story. Thanks, Harry.
I would have sent this to you earlier, but I asked you to look at the Argentina thing because I figured you were easily the most qualified person to look at that. But I think this is pretty cool.
God, the Argentines.
Now I need them to
hate themselves out of existence economically. Yeah. They just hate everybody too much. I'm sorry. I just.
Oh no, you're.
That's such a frustrating problem down there.
I need them now to do a study on the Japanese diet and find out where these Japanese people live to like 100 plus. That's what I need to find. Are there correlations between the two, or do they?
I do a lot of Japanese preparation of vegetables. Believe it or not, I'm kind of a big fan of that, and big fan of Japanese spices.
Well, I think I actually did okay tonight because I planned the show out for 2 hours. We've gone 2 hours and 1 minute, and we've actually covered. Well, I have a few backup things we could bring in if you want to go longer, but I feel like we're all getting kind of tired, and maybe we can save it for next week.
My face is about to fall off my face.
So, as we often do, thank you, panel, for joining me tonight. Thank you, chat. The zoo is closed. Good night, everybody.
Good night.